Hi everyone, welcome back. Today is the first in the series of Girlboss Functional Planning, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about determining values, why values are important, how that relates to planning, and you'll have to forgive me because at the beginning I'm going to go a little bit off on a tangent on something that we talked about at the Dale Carnegie class that I went to that's related, but it just struck me and I really wanted to share it with you because I know that sometimes we feel so powerless with everything about how the country is going, how things are around us, what good can one person do. And I wanted to share a little bit about something that they talked about. And I'm just going to hold this up so you can see it. So there's actually 3 different little areas here, and it creates a circle. So the first section is culture, and this is something that is created. They were talking specifically about a company. It's difficult to change and control. It's how a lot of the leaders lead. So for us personally, I think the culture is actually how our leaders, our national and state leaders lead. That's not something we can necessarily affect except once, you know, every so often when there's a ballot box and we can cast our vote, and we hope that everybody agrees with us, but it's pretty much majority rules within reason. I know we're a republic, but I won't go into that. That's a different soapbox. But the next section here is climate. And this, when they talked about climate, was really interesting to me because basically their definition of climate is how the local supervisors lead. Now for me, that's how we are. We can affect our local climate. That's how we treat others. That's how we treat the people around us. That's how we treat our family, how we raise our children. That's something we have an effect on. And the interesting thing is that if climate is changed enough and enough people have the same climate, that can actually affect the culture. So it's almost like leading from the bottom up. And that's something I wanted to share with you because it really struck me as, how do we make a difference? How can one person, you know, make a difference in the world? We have to affect our local climate, our local group, whether that's our family, our friends, our city, our county. We have to start with who we have influence over. And if enough people make the same changes, those changes can grow and expand. That's very slow, but at least you're making your area a better place. So I just wanted to express that to you. Hopefully that makes sense. It was something that was on my heart that I wanted to share because sometimes I feel so powerless in light of everything that's going on right now. And yeah, anyway, so do what you can with what you have, with who you are. We all can make a difference. Even if it's very small, those small things make big changes. Okay, so let's talk values. That was the next section of this Dale Carnegie class. I really enjoy them. If you get a chance to take one, definitely take it. Even though they're aimed at businesses and leadership, there's so many things that apply in so many different areas. So let's talk about what values are. So values are basically guidelines on how we relate to others. So it's things that we hold near and dear that basically define how we talk to others, treat others, how we affect those around us. So I'm actually going to put a picture up now that's going to have a list of all those values. Now, there are personal values, your company can have values, if you have a team within a company, those can have values. So right now, today, we're just going to talk about personal values because to me, the personal values actually affect our decision making and they make our decisions easier. And if we're faced with a hard decision, hold them up against your values. Does this decision, saying yes, violate any of my values? And you start from the top and work your way down. And that may not make it like slam dunk super easy, but hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier. Values also help you prioritize to avoid conflict. So if you have 2 values that when you're making a decision may seem to be in conflict, if you go ahead and prioritize your values, then that actually will make it easier to make decisions because you're going to start at the top and work your way down until you find a value that maybe makes that decision for you or makes it a little bit easier. So how do you define your values? They are actually very individual and it really depends on, I'm going to say the word again, what you value in life. For a lot of people, it's family first. For some people, it's faith first. It just really depends on what's important to you. So just as an example, the values that I wrote down while we were there: faith, integrity, family, creativity / growth / learning, because for me those are all tied together, and loyalty. So those were my top 5. I had other things that were written down on here, balance, commitment, and entrepreneurship, since I am also a business owner. So that gives you an idea of what values might be like. Now everybody's order is going to be different, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The important part is to start and look at that list, which I'm going to put up here again. Take a look at it, pause, and see what it is that appeals to you. Which of these values do you identify with? Which ones give you that sense of, yes, this is me. These are the things that are important to me. Just write them down. Write down like 6 or 7 of them, however many you feel like you identify with. And then when you're done, put them in order. There's no right or wrong answer, and things might change a little bit. It really depends on what's going on in your life. But start with that list. There may be other words, and sometimes the words are related. So like honesty and integrity, those may be like integrity is a higher form of honesty, or honesty is included in integrity. So you might find a bunch of words that identify with, and then you might look at those and see that there's one word that kind of summarizes them. So that also may help you as well. So here's a list, pause it, and write those down. Okay. Welcome back. So now that you have those values, again, sit down, rank those values, take your top 5, put them from start to finish. And again, yours may be different than mine, and they're probably going to be different than other people's as well. So go ahead and pause the video again and go ahead and rank your values. All right, so now that that's done, let me walk you through an example that our instructor gave that might help you, say for example, make a decision using your values. So let's say that you have a sibling who is always in financial trouble and would like to borrow money. So I'm going to take my list of values and we'll run down through it. So first one is faith. Let's say that that sibling is going to be at a family event and you know he's going to ask to borrow money. So you're trying to make a decision. Should I loan it to him? Yes or no? So hold that up against faith. Does faith have anything to do with it? It may for you and it may not. So number 2, integrity. So knowing that that person may never pay you back that money, does that make a difference? What about family? Is that a consideration for you? Creativity, growth, and learning? Probably not, unless maybe you're learning that you should loan them money again. I don't know, that might be part of it. Loyalty. Loyalty might have something to do with it. Maybe you're very loyal to your family members. So all of that to say, using those values to make a decision, you know, if I am very family oriented, maybe I'm going to loan that sibling money whether or not I expect to get it back. Again, that's a personal decision, but knowing that family is important to you and knowing what might happen if you don't, maybe that'll help you make that decision. Another example, let's say that knowing that integrity is number 2 for me, if I get asked to do something that's not legal, my integrity is very important to me. So when I hit my value number 2 underneath faith, and when I hit integrity, I'm gonna say no. Because for me, integrity is very important and I don't want to throw my integrity aside just to do something for somebody else that's maybe illegal or even unethical. Sometimes those are the same and sometimes they're not. Maybe it's legal, but maybe it's not ethical. So you can start to see how having these values will help you make decisions. So in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use your values. So in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use your values to renegotiate your commitments. So as a part of that, if you are following me along on this journey, go ahead and while you're waiting for the next video to upload, make a list of all the commitments that you have. That could be something related to your children's school, sports teams, maybe church, maybe you volunteer locally in the community or through some sort of an industry. Maybe it's a commitment you have through work. So anything that takes time, especially time outside of business hours. So if it's time that's taken away from your personal time, I think that's more what I'm focusing on. But also consider things maybe if you work outside the home, consider those as well. Because sometimes you may have commitments to industry associations or industry groups that take away from your work time. And maybe you need to be focusing on your work. Again, that's only something that you can make a decision about. But go ahead and make a list of those commitments, and then we will do something similar in the next video talking about those commitments and how to use our values to negotiate those. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, this is the first video in a series called the Girlboss Functional Planning series, and I'm going to try and keep these a little short. We are going to be talking about some meaty things. There'll be some thinking involved, so I don't want to make this super long video. I do want to give you a chance to pause in the middle of the video, do some thinking afterwards, so I'm going to try and keep these somewhat short. If you are not already, please subscribe if you want to be notified when the next videos come up. Again, if this is not your cup of tea, and I understand it won't be for everybody, I am going to be interspersing other types of videos that are more directly planner related. So I have a plan with me coming up and an annual first quarter of the year planning session that I'll be putting up toward the end of the month of December, so that you can see how I am planning for next year and setting everything up for January and the new year. We do have some goal setting videos coming up, talking a little bit about goal setting using your job description, how to mind map your job description, which I will link a video below where I talked a little bit about that the first time. I showed a picture of what that mind map looked like, so if you want to kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So a whole bunch of stuff coming. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And also, I'd be interested in seeing what your values are if you're willing to share. Like I said, everybody's are different, and I'm definitely interested to see what everybody has to say. I'm also interested to hear what you think about my comments at the beginning about affecting just your area around you and your sphere of influence and creating your own climate and helping to hopefully push that climate to a bigger cultural shift. Because really and truly, I think that's the only way that anything's gonna get done, is we all have to do something ourselves, and we have to affect the world around us as much as we can in a positive direction. Please subscribe if you're interested in getting notified when those new videos come out. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time.